I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test, part 150, Social Change in the 1960s, part 3, where it's on the page 55, while doing risk training, and if you participate in risk training, that is at your own risk. What we already had in part 1 and 2 was that in the 1960s, called also the swinging 60s, bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones made well-known pop music, and it was a time of growth in fashion, cinema and music in Britain, and the people were better off, and they were able to buy cars and consumer goods. And also social laws were liberalized, for example, in relation to divorce and abortion in England, Wales and Scotland, and the position, and now women had the right that they got the equal payment as the male colleagues, and that they could not be discriminated for being female. And I think we did not mention Ireland because it is differently in Ireland. It could be. So in the 1960s was also a time of technological progress. So the techniques had made progress. And we're referring here to technique. We have now here. Britain and France developed the supersonic commercial airline Concorde. Let's look if someone would understand that they don't know what a Concorde is. Britain and France, developed the supersonic. So many people don't know what supersonic is. I don't actually know it also, but I think I know it. Commercial, where we have commerce again, and airliner Concorde. Yes, one could understand it. So there was technological progress. For example, the Concorde, an airliner. An airliner is a plane, but there were multiple of them, about maybe something like that of it. So the Concorde is an airplane, and I'm pretty sure it's the one which has the nose of the plane goes like this. So the plane is like that, and then at the front the nose goes down like that. So Britain and France developed the supersonic. I have to look it one time up, but that means it's, I can't believe it, it's faster than sound. So I don't think supersonic means faster than sound also. And furthermore, it would be measured in Mach and not in supersonic. But supersonic could mean it. So supersonic, whatever that means. I would say from the name faster than sound. But I don't think that the Concorde would be faster than 1,000 kilometers or something is sound per second. No, per minute. Maybe. Maybe the Concorde was faster than sound. Why not? At the time also, I know that military fighters had that speed and more at the time already. And in the 1960s was the moon landing. And the Concorde did not have that nose for nothing. And there are trains which have 300 kilometers per hour. And the sound has just 1,000 kilometers per hour. So it is possible that supersonic actually means as fast as sound, and that the Concorde was as fast as the sound, and it was traveling with 1,000 kilometers per second, whatever. Britain and France made technological progress, and for example, they built a supersonic commercial airliner Concorde. That is what we mean. They mean commercial, they mean that was not for the military or just for test or something. It was commercially used. People just could buy a ticket and fly with it. And it was an airliner. It was not flown once. We have perfect conditions. Let's fly the Concorde one time. It was regularly flying. We're flying next Monday and next Tuesday. Do we want to buy a ticket? We're flying in next week. So the Concorde was built. New styles of architecture. We had it already one time. Most of them are not standing anymore, but castles were Windsor Castle and Edinburgh Castle. That was through the late Middle Ages or something. Did we mention it? And other cathedrals, for example, Lincoln Cathedral, which is still standing, were built. New styles of architecture, including high-rise buildings, and the use of concrete and steel became common. So new styles of architecture were made. So the fashion changes of what people were wearing as clothes, and also the type of a building, how buildings look changed. And there were new buildings built, and some of them were high-rise buildings, which means they are, I don't know what the definition is, higher than, I think it's not measured in meters, but actually in how many levels we have. Higher than, I think, 20 or 30 or so. So buildings which are very high, not just 2 or 3 levels, or floors, but we're having 20, 30, 50 floors or something like that that are 100 meters high. So many of these houses were built which are 100 meters high, and the use of concrete and steel became common. Now it was possible to build such high houses because they no longer were built with wood or something. They were built with concrete. I don't know much more about concrete than you. Concrete is basically a stone, but before it is a stone, it is almost a liquid. So you can form it. And steel. Steel, if you make it hot, is also a liquid and you can form it. And basically, if you have concrete when it's just new, then out of Portland cement and something other, and water, when you can form it, you can fill it into forms, and then you can make a wall. And when you wait a few hours, a few days, then it dries, and if it's dry, it's very hard. So you build a wall, and when the wall would fall down, so you put steel in it, steel, whatever you call it, and steel is also, if you make it hot, at 1000 degrees or 800 degrees, steel is formable. It's almost a liquid when it gets even hotter at 1500 or 2000. And when you can form it and you make them the steel things out of it, you make a form on the outside, and in it you put a steel as a, whatever that is called, as a not cluster, something like that. It has lots of forms. So you put like a net, like a fishing net, like a fence in it in the middle, and then you have walls at the outsides out of whatever wood, or I don't know. And then you put the concrete in it. Now the concrete dries, and the concrete would fall. Concrete is pretty stiff and would fall. But now we're having the steel in the middle as whatever it's called, as a fishing net, and now the concrete doesn't fall, and you can build way higher. But that is just steel building of houses. Way meaning now for high-rise buildings, there is steel which is way longer, and it's not just a thin thing. It's a block out of steel. It holds a lot of force, and you build them higher in all places, and that way you build a house. Now, let's go. The number of people migrating from the West Indies, as I said, I don't know what the West Indies is, where it is, what it is. India, Pakistan, and what is now Bangladesh fell. So, in the 1960s, they said for around 25 years people came, starting in the 1950s. And then in the late 1960s, there were not so many people coming from West Indies, India, Pakistan, and what is now Bangladesh. Because the government passed new laws to restrict immigration to Britain. Because the government made laws which said, no, not so many people should come from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, or somewhere else, or no, not so many people. The government made laws that people could not come so easily anymore. Immigrants were required to have a strong connection to Britain through birth or ancestry. That means if immigrants wanted to come to Britain, they need to have a connection to Britain, and they had to be born in Britain. So if someone wants to come to Britain, they had to be born in Britain. They can happen that they moved out again and living somewhere else. Or they need to have ancestry, so they need to have a father, a mother. I don't know the rules, maybe a brother is enough, something like that. And so we need ancestry. And ancestry would be not siblings. It would be just father, mother, grandfather, grandmother. I don't know. So restrictions, for example, it's required to have strong connections. Strong. So I guess some loose relatives or further relatives is not enough for ancestry. Even so, during the early 1970s, Britain admitted 28,000 people of Indian origin who had been forced to leave Uganda. Again, one of these words, you basically never will find out what they mean if you don't look it up. Admitting. Britain admitted 28,000 people of Indian origin who had been forced to leave Uganda. From the context, we will almost not find out what the word admitting means, and we will not do it the next time when someone uses admitting, and not the next time when. Now, why were Indian people in Uganda? I don't understand the whole sentence. Uganda is, if I'm not wrong, in Africa, and it's pretty far away from India. Britain admitted 28,000 people of Indian origin who had been forced to leave Uganda. Whatever that means, we will try it later again. Now we will do just risk training, and we participate in it, but it's at your own risk. And we will do nothing new. Maybe we try to look up where Uganda is, and maybe we will read the sentence again, but I don't think we have time. So we're having the arms next to us, we're having the good and stable side. And we are having flat hands, and we bring these flat hands to the inside and to the outside. And this exercise is called magician. And we're having also 3 rules. The first rule is that we're stopping immediately as soon as we feel pain. The second rule is that we are going only as far as we can go with a little bit of effort, so we're not forcing anything. And the third rule is that we're not overdoing it. So now we're going to go on to the next exercise. The pancake flipper. Flat hands, we're opening up to the sky. And again down. And again up. And down. What's the historical context why Indian people were in Uganda, or they are very long, whatever. And why do we end the chapter about the swinging 60s with that? And now the T-Rex in the morning, we're having flat hands, and we're bringing these flat hands down. And again up. And just one last time. Up and down. And now we're doing the course big bang. We're placing the fingertips of one hand on top of the fingernails of the other hand. We're pressing a little bit onto them. And now we're opening and closing again. And the last time. And now we're switching on the other side. And we're opening. And the last time. And now just with relaxation, we're having a long arm, we're making a little bend, we're sitting on, we're going on the middle part of the lower arm with moderate pressure. And now on the other side. And now we're having 2.5 minutes. I'm going to try first to find Uganda. Uganda is there. Where's Uganda? The purple there. Where's Uganda? Let's read the sentence. So actually, the last sentence. Even so, during the early 1970s, Britain admitted 28,000 people of Indian origin who had been forced to leave Uganda. Admitted means to allow them to come in, I think. So, Britain allowed 28,000 people who had Indian origin, and I understand it. So, 28,000 people from India. So from India, 28,000 people from India or more were living in Uganda. And in Uganda seems to be some problematic situation, and they were forced to leave Uganda. And now they could go to Britain. Why is it the end about the swinging 60s? I went without explanation. It would be better just to tell one more thing about the swinging 60s. What happened in Uganda? So, immigrants were required to have a strong connection to Britain through birth or ancestry. Even so, during the early 1970s, Britain admitted 28,000. Or does it, even so, does it mean they were denied to come to Britain? Even so, during the early 1970s, Britain admitted 28,000 people of Indian origin who had been forced to leave Uganda. I don't know. We will go on in the next chapter, some great British inventions of the 20th century. I thank you very much, and